It was the night before Christmas, and it could have been my last. I'm here to tell a story that is very personal to me, very strange, and very scary. This is really the second time recording this. I tried a few months ago, but 'tis the season, and I'm here to try it out again. This time I'm just gonna go off the cuff of what I remember, because as scary as the situation was, it isn't something that's been formally documented in any way, but I do know that if it had gone differently, my life would have changed forever. Let's just start. So, where I grew up, there was a local recreation community center. It's where kids did like swimming lessons, soccer, there was a gym for adults, sometimes like after school activities there. And every Christmas, they would hold this large community event. They would have like sleigh rides outside, a handbell choir, if you know what that is, playing Christmas music with the bells, dressed in like old little outfits. There'd always be like a magician for the kids. There'd be apple cider. It was a huge event that I always looked forward to. They also had a yearly contest that was a Yule log hunt. If you guys don't know what a Yule log is, I honestly don't really know either. But here it was like a log that was decorated with like Christmassy things. And if you won, you got to keep the Yule log. And it usually had some fun like plushies, ornaments, etc. on it. In my head, if you won this contest, you were like the biggest celebrity in the whole neighborhood. They'd be featured in the local paper. It was a huge thing. This year, I had recently turned 9 years old, meaning my sister was 5, about to turn 6. We were there with 2 of our neighbors and their mom and my mom as well. So me and my sister were friends with them, but in a way where it's like you're friends because you live by each other and because your parents are friends, not necessarily that you choose to hang out with them. They were older than me, maybe like 10, 11, and they were kind of bullies. Sometimes it would be this thing where they'd be like, oh, I dare you to do this. I dare you to do that. And things would get dangerous and weird. I was in dance class with them. I was in gymnastics with them. When I was at their house, they'd always be telling me to like, oh, do this like back handspring and all these things I wasn't advanced enough to do. There's also some things that I don't feel totally comfortable talking about. I will say that the bullying did feel a bit discriminatory. I'm somebody who's mixed race, and they were white and very into movies like Gone with the Wind and a lot of like slave era stuff, and they thought that some of those techniques would be fun to try on me, I guess you can say. There was also something that really disturbed me. There was this girl who was also older than them, I think, who was in our dance class, but she had Down syndrome, and they would always invite her over, and it would just be weird, them not letting her go to the bathroom. I always felt pretty uncomfortable around them. I don't know if my parents understood how scary of a situation this was, so them being here with us wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Okay, let's call them Shelby and Karina. So Shelby was the kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's always a dominant twin. She was the one who was always kind of coming up with ideas, instigating things, very forward, very bold. And Carissa, I would say, was a bit more low-key, somebody who I sometimes felt like I could trust, but in the end, they were kind of like a dangerous duo. So this year, we once again were at this community center's holiday thing. We did the horse and carriage ride, we watched the handbells, and then it was time for the Yule log contest. They announced it, they showed us pictures of the 3 Yule logs looked like. They said it was somewhere in or around the building, and off we went. Immediately, we went outside because everybody was searching inside because it was really cold outside. We were running around the building. There was like a playground. There were trees, kind of like a running path. We were in pairs. I was paired with Shelby, and my younger sister was paired with Carissa. And my sister and Carissa started to say like, oh, I think it's buried somewhere here by the trees. It feels like lumpy here. And they dug around there for a second. Then Shelby was like, no, it's not going to be there. That would be way too obvious. It's probably out on the soccer fields. And the soccer field is big. Like multiple games of soccer usually are played there at once. It's huge. I'm thinking like, I don't really know about this. I feel like if we go out onto the soccer field, it's almost too far from the community center to even be counted as part of it. But Shelby keeps on walking, and I'm scared to be alone. I think I explained this in my earlier video. Did any of you guys have like, I don't know, attachment things with your parents when you were younger. Like, I think I've been told so many stories about being kidnapped that just the prospect of being anywhere alone horrified me until I was probably maybe 12. So she starts walking out there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't be alone. So I start to follow her. And then eventually, Carissa and my sister follow us as well. I'm like, where should we be looking? And what's weird to me is that she kind of has an idea of where she's going, and we're not stopping. We just keep walking, and we walk all the way to the back of the soccer field. There's like a light bit of snow around too. So I'm wondering at first if she thinks it's buried in the snow, but no, she's going to a very specific location. And there's this fence around the field, and she walks up to it. He's an older guy. It was nighttime, and I was a kid, so it's hard for me to remember, but I definitely felt like he was way older than me. 20s, maybe 30s, could be 40s, I don't know. Kind of pacing behind the fence, not directly behind it, but you can kind of see the street, and he's pacing on the side of the street. And when we come up, he then comes up to us. He's like, hey girls. He's walking around in a long jacket. Long jackets weren't something that was typically worn in the area at the time for reasons I will talk about in another video. So I did think that was interesting, and he did have a hat on that made it a little hard to see his eyes. He was asking us what we were up to, and Shelby was very much forward. I was just like, who the heck is this guy? And she was like, oh, we're searching for the Yule log. And he was like, oh, the Yule log. You know, I know a thing or two about the Yule log. I'm immediately like, what is happening? Even though I'm young, I just know that this seems too intentional, too pre-planned, I guess. I'm like, this is weird. So I kind of back up, and I'm like, hey guys, let's just go back to the playground. I think it's probably actually back there. And he's like, oh, you're not going to find it there. There's 3, there's 2 inside, and there's 1 outside. And the one outside, it's hidden in my car. And as somebody whose mom had really schooled her about like things strangers say and not to trust them, a big thing was like, oh, there's candy in my car. There's something in my car. And I was like, this is weird. Like, this almost feels like a parody of a stranger. I don't know. But he said that. And my sister, who's really young, was like, oh, yeah, let's go. And Shelby's like, yeah, let's go. I'm backing up more and more. And they're looking at me. And Carissa, even though she was about to go with them, was like, hey, maybe we shouldn't. And I was like, absolutely we shouldn't. This is really weird. And this guy starts laughing at us. He's like, haha, you must think I'm a stranger. Don't worry, like, I live right here. I work for the community center. That's why they hid it in my car. And I'm scared because I feel like my sister is about to go under the fence with Shelby and like go off with them. And I was like, no, come over here. And she's kind of standing there, kind of in the middle. Eventually, I start walking. My sister comes with me, and Carissa is standing there being like, Shelby, come on. And Shelby's like, no, like, he has the Yule log. If we want to win, we're going to go with him. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to say these girls were geniuses, but I also feel like if you're like 10, 11 years old, maybe you would know this already. Like, you would know the signs of this. Maybe not. I don't know. It just felt strange. It felt strange that she walked directly there. It felt strange that she was so encouraging. And then, like, her and Carissa were just, like, standing there looking at each other. Eventually, Carissa comes with us. Shelby's still standing there. She was kind of yelling at us, come on, guys. Are you really afraid of something like this? Like, kind of egging us on. But I didn't care. I didn't care if somebody called me a coward. I legitimately thought the situation was so weird. In a way, it almost felt like this guy was like pretending to be a kidnapper. I don't know. But maybe he wasn't. Maybe he just like knew the rule book, and maybe these girls were being tricked. But there's another part of me that felt like they were in on it somehow. Like, it felt like they knew what they were doing. But maybe not. I don't know. So eventually we go back. Shelby is really frustrated. She's like, well, you know what? I'm done hunting. We go inside. We're waiting by our moms. Carissa and my sister actually dig near that tree and end up finding the last one. They get a picture for the community paper. I'm jealous, of course. But as they were searching outside, I tell my mom what happened. I didn't say that, like, Shelby led us there, but I was like, there was this guy. He was out by the soccer field. My mom gets really alarmed. But her friend, who is the mom of the twins, is like laughing. She's like, oh, kids make up all kinds of stuff. That's so funny. And I'm like, no, it really happened. And I could tell that my mom was torn, but eventually she kind of just got discouraged from doing anything about it. And it really frustrated me because I felt like something really bad could have happened. So not long after this, they had an older brother who was like much older than us, who had just gone away for college. college, and his roommate had gotten killed in a car accident. And I remember their mom like laughing about it, being like, "Oh wow, college boys are so crazy." It made me think like, oh, there's something really weird not only going on with this family, but also just the mom's way that she writes certain things off. The older I got, the more I felt like there was something layered to it, like they maybe knew, or it was some kind of prank. But I don't know who would even play a prank like this. Like if it was their older brother, like I would have known it was him, and it definitely wasn't. Also, he wasn't even in town, he was at school. I don't know. I don't know if this was a prank, like what the intention would be. If this was them trying to get us kidnapped, then like, well, what on earth? I don't really have answers. If any of you guys have any idea of what any of this means, please let me know. This is like a weird thing in my past that always comes back to me, honestly, like every Christmas time. And I really hope that no one else fell victim to this. I didn't hear of anybody being taken in our neighborhood, so hopefully not. Very best case scenario, it was a prank. I'm not sure. I will see you guys later for another video. Let me know if you have ever had a situation where you may have been kidnapped. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holiday, and please keep yourself safe and keep your any younger siblings, cousins, kids, anyone you know. Even when you're in groups, weird things can happen. And I'm just so thankful that me and my sister were okay. Bye.